Hi again and welcome back to my craft room. This is card 2 in my November Arrange a Wreath class by mail. Thanks for joining me and thanks for purchasing this class. Just checking the light on this video is a little bit funny. Got a bit of shadow coming through. That might be a little bit better, maybe. Anyway, yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, so forgive that bit of shadow. It will actually pass quite quickly with the sunlight in here. Anyway, so thanks for joining me. This is card number 2. So we've got here, it's a little bit different to the wreath. It doesn't actually use the wreaths at all. It just sort of uses little sprigs of it, which you've got in your set. But it concentrates on this cute little partridge and his pears here, which are actually sitting in a bit of a crate, obviously. Been harvested and ready for market or something. So anyway, so it's quite nice. It's a little bit different, just to sort of show you the uses for the stamps other than just a wreath. Anyway, so to make this card, you have a card base, which is a normal size Whisper White thick card base, 8 1/4 by 5 3/4, and it's scored at 4 1/8. So there. You've got a piece of Pear Pizzazz cardstock, which I have embossed for you, and that's 1/4 inch smaller, so that would be 3 7/8 by 5 1/2. And I've put that through the Tasteful Textiles embossing folder for you, so it's got that lovely sort of earthy look to it. It's really, really nice. You have a circle here, which I have cut out with the stitched circles. It's the largest circle in the stitched circles. And as I mentioned, you've got a couple of sprigs of a wreath. So if you can imagine, that's actually a full wreath cut in half or cut in quarters, and you've got 2/4 of it there. Then you've got a piece of cardstock which is for stamping and die cutting. So that's what we'll do first. I think, as I mentioned in the advertising for this stamp, you will actually need a dauber for this one if you want to do the double colours, the 2 colours in the stamping that I have in the original card. If you don't have a dauber, you can just leave everything as a single colour. Okay, so do the stamping. We want to stamp the little partridge and his pears. So we want 4 pears, and the pears come in pairs of pears, so you only have to stamp that twice. So the colours I've used, as in the advertising for the class, is Mango Melody for the pears, and Cherry Cobbler is the highlight colour that we're going to use for our daubing. Okay, so you want to just first of all pop your pears in the Mango Melody, then get your dauber in the Cherry Cobbler, and just give them a little bit of a highlight just around the bottom ends of them, just where pears tend to turn when they ripen. So there we are. So we've got mostly in the Mango Melody, but with a little bit of a highlight of. Sorry, I'm just getting a. So I'm just going to clean that off and go again. So there with the Mango Melody, and just a little bit of the Cherry Cobbler. Here we are. Okay, so we'll do very similar with our little partridge friend. Here he is. We'll pop him on the block. So this time he's not going to be Mango Melody. It's going to be Soft Suede. And he's actually only you only want half strength Soft Suede. So if you ink him up once, then grab a piece of scrap or onto your surface, your stamping surface, to stamp him off once. Then grab your dauber in the Cherry Cobbler And then Daub, we're going to give him a little pink or red belly there. So just where you can see those, he's got a little area where he's got some feather detail. So just pop it in there and then on to your card. So he's got a sort of a darker belly and a sort of a brown back. I might actually do that one again just to show you, because I don't, that soft suede. Just stamp that off again. Bring in our Dauber's belly. There we are. Actually, I like him better because it hasn't made the soft suede hasn't lightened off as much. So just stamp it off very lightly the first time, just to remove some of the excess ink, but not too much. So I'll actually die cut that second one. So you should have plenty of cardstock to do a bit of experimenting in your set. So we also want the crate that his pears are going to be in, and again that's in soft suede, and this time we don't stamp off, we just go full strength. There we are. If you have any other brown at home that you like better, just use that. I think actually one of the new colours would be good for that as well. So I'm going to actually first of all just cut out this crate because it's just a nice straight square and there's no die for that one. You don't have to be too fussy with a rectangle. And then I'm going to get the dies and I'm going to cut out our partridge and our pears. Here's the dies that goes with the set. Now if you haven't bought the die set or you don't have it at home, I will have already cut these pieces for you, so you will just be stamping onto pre-cut die cuts, which can be a little bit tricky. But if you have a bit of a practice, you should be right. So I'm just going to die cut these. That's the first run. So there's our partridge, and there's our first two pairs. I'll just pop it through again with the second two pairs. And we'll be ready to go. Okay, so there we have our partridge and his little pears and their crate. Okay, so we might as well start putting this one together. First of all, I'm going to grab the panel of Pear Pizzazz, and you've also got some of this beautiful gold cord. So what we're going to do is wrap that around our card base about halfway. It's not going to worry too much if it's not. Leaving sort of a fair bit at this end so you can eventually tie your bow, because we're going to tie our, well, knot, it's not a bow, we're going to tie our knot over this side. So just wrap that. You should get around 3 times and then back, and this is where we're going to tie just a bow Doesn't have to, just a knot, doesn't have to be a bow. They say, thank heaven, because you guys know what my bows are like. So just a double knot there, just to hold it firm. There we are. And we'll trim that off. There's plenty there. Okay, so that's just sort of spread those apart a little bit, but we can do that just before we add the next part. So we do that first because then we can add this to our card base, just like that. So you do the twist the cord around twice, 3 times first. Just spread them apart a little bit so that you have this sort of a flared effect. There we are. And then we're going to glue that onto our card base. There we are. Just like that. Okay. That just gives it a little bit of bling there. Okay, so now we're going to bring in we might decorate our circle first. Just there, our little circle, because this is where our little trunk is going to sit. So you've got some dimensionals with your kit. So just set your little box, your little fruit box up on the dimensionals. Don't put them too close to the top of the box, or what you decide is the top of the box, because your pears have got to sort of snug down below there, and it'll be tricky if your dimensionals are too high. So leave them sort of halfway. So pop your box on there, sort of towards the bottom, and it can overlap a tiny bit over the edge, just like that. Okay, so that's there. Then what we're going to do is pop some dimensionals on the back of our pears. No, sorry, we're going to put a dimensional on the back of one pear, and then we're going to glue the other 2. I was just checking my original here. Actually, let's pop our little pieces of foliage in first. Apologies for that, I'm trying to work out what order I've done things in. We're going to pop our little pieces of foliage on first. So let's just grab some glue, because they're forming our backdrop, of course. So box on first, little crate on first, and then your little sprigs of wreath on there. So just up the back there. They are going to overlap the edge a little bit, but that doesn't matter too much. Okay, so now we'll bring in our pears. So we're going to have 2 pears glued straight to the background. That's why I had to bring the foliage in first. So just sort of make them a little bit random, like they're you know, sticking out the top of a crate. Sort of, they're not all neat. They're all a bit haphazard. A bit like that. As you can imagine, if somebody's popped a whole lot of pears into a crate. And then our one with a dimensional on the back, he's going to sit in the middle there. Just with a bit of, so he's got a bit of 3D effect happening. He sits up a little bit. Then our little our third little one. Okay. Then we're going to bring in our card, and we're going to pop our circle on there, just so it overlaps the cord. So you can see the cord off to the side, but it's mostly underneath. And again, I'm going to use dimensionals to pop that on. So you should have plenty of dimensionals in your kit to mount that up. The reason I've mounted this one where I actually glued the first one is because the cord, this gold cord here, causes a bump in the circle, which I didn't like. So if you're putting it on dimensionals, it'll be nice and flat and won't be, it won't have a big crease in the middle of it. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our Mr. Partridge and our spare pair. So we're going to pop the partridge here, so he's just off the edge, so he's going to have a dimensional on the back. So just place that where it's going to be on the background, and then we're going to pop a little bit of glue on his head so that that's glues to the box. So just pop a little bit of glue behind there, maybe a bit too much. Yeah. And then our final pair is just going to be glued, sort of look like it's just fallen out of the box. So just a little bit of glue there, and he sort of is leaning up against the box like that. Apologies, I've moved down the thing when I didn't want to. Hopefully you can see that okay. Okay, so I have forgotten actually to stamp our sentiment, which shouldn't be a problem, hopefully. Probably a good reason why I do these as written instructions usually, because I can just cut and paste when I feel I've made a boo-boo, but today it's a bit different. Okay, so we want our cherry cobbler ink, and the sentiment's going to be up there at the back, hopefully, if I've left enough room. So let me just bring it, I'll just bring it a bit closer to myself. Apologies for this, I've got to find somewhere where I can actually stamp it. There we are, that's not too bad. There you are, so that's your best wishes there. So, yeah, might have been best to pop that on a blank circle, but I forgot all about it. Oh gosh, not very good today. Okay, so the order for this one should be blank circle, sentiment, sprigs, box on dimensionals, then your branches out the back around your sentiment that's already there, then pairs, partridge and spare pair. There we go, that's the way you should do that one. Okay, so then with these, you should have some gilded gems in your set, so you should have 3 of those. And we're going to pop those on as well. Just for a bit of added bling. So that one's done. Thankfully, that's card number 2. You can pop a sentiment inside there if you like, but I've left it blank inside. I think it's just a cute little plain card, but as I say, it helps showcase the other stamps in the set with the partridge and the pears, just so you can see that that can be used for something a little bit different. Okay, so that's card number 2, and I'll tidy up a bit and come back with card number 3 in a moment.